Yes. Not on the IFB, though. Over the speaker or something? Just cue me out. I'll be good. Good afternoon, everybody. This is David Zier. Okay. Tell me when. I'm David Zier with Real America's Voice News, coming to you live from the America First White House. You are watching On the Right Side podcast. Catch us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm at the incredible the America First Warehouse just outside of New York City. You should check it out. Go to theamericafirstwarehouse.com. We've had so many great events over the years here. I'm so proud to be affiliated with Joe the Box and the incredible production crew over here. And they have had some stellar guests. I've brought in people with Joe the Box here like Miranda Devine and Monica Crowley and MTG, Kellyanne Conway, John Solomon, Kash Patel, you name it. It's just been one thing after the other. And we've had great live specials for Real America's Voice News, great entertainment and comedy here at the America First Warehouse, election coverage over the years, bringing you Trump rallies in combination with the with cooperation with the Real America's Voice News team around the country and around the world during the 2020 election, the 2024 election, hot midterms coming up. I'm really concerned about the midterms. If it was held today, the Republicans probably wouldn't control the House. And there's a lot going on, and it needs to be discussed, and you have to get involved out there across the country. Could you imagine what the last 2 years of a Trump presidency would be like if the Democrats took back the House, possibly the Senate? Again, the last Charlie Cook report that I was looking at showed the Democrats in charge or in the lead by about 9 seats nationwide, and now with some redistricting, in addition to what happened in Texas, we have California, other states that could follow suit on the Democratic side to a degree. A lot of them missed their deadlines, but you know, you can't lose the House, right? You can't lose the House. I would venture to say that Donald Trump has saved many tens of thousands of lives just so far this year. I was down on the border in 2019 with the incredible Ben Bergquam. You know, I've seen what the cartels and the coyotes are up to, you know, sending people across the river, babies drowning in the river while at the top of the mountain they were transporting AK-47s and opioids and fentanyl across the border. And Real America's Voice News has brought incredible coverage to the world through the eyes of Ben Bergquam and Oscar L. Blue and others, exposing what's going on because, you know, there have been no encounters for months at the border. And under Biden, at the same time last year, there was tens of thousands per month. I think it was as high as 200,000 in a month in early 2024. The numbers were incredible. Well, now it's nothing. So think about the 100,000 lives that we lose every year from fentanyl. That number was already going down in 2024 a little bit because of some better treatment options and some other issues. But we had a wide open, porous border. And how much of that fentanyl bled over into 2025? You know, Trump closed the border. But I would venture to say that Trump has saved tens of thousands of lives, not just from drug overdoses, but also from murders and rapes and robberies. I don't know if you remember Fox reporting back in 2017 that over a 5-year period, 550,000 felonies were committed just in Texas alone in that 5-year period, with like 4,000 murders, 7,000 rapes and kidnappings and incredible crimes. Multiply that times 50 states by about 40 years of terrible migration policies in the United States. Trump has changed that game. So how many people haven't been stabbed, been raped, been murdered, been kidnapped, especially in these border cities where they were finding heads on pikes down, in the border of Texas and Mexico and California and Arizona and Mexico, New Mexico. Sunland Park, right where the Rio Grande meets down there, which is the entryway to Juarez by El Paso. And I would venture to tell you that, let's take Manchester, New Hampshire, and I'm going to take a deeper dive on this because I spent a lot of time in New Hampshire in the 2020 primary and the 2024 presidential race following President Trump. I've been in 38 states with the network around the country, and the director of overdose prevention there told me that 108,000 people are in Manchester, New Hampshire, and 8% of them per year were overdosing because of toxic cocktails of synthetic opiates and morphine and fentanyl type things where they take one to bring them down and then another to bring them up and constantly overdosing. I think that's down drastically. And just think about the I-80 corridor. I spent about 2 months on the ground for Real America's Voice in Iowa for the caucuses, for the presidential races 2020 and 2024. And that I-80 corridor cutting through was a major drug corridor for the coyotes and the cartels. Just where Alfredo Garcia, was transporting illegals in his car, in his pickup truck or van, whatever the heck he was driving, where he had 9 possible illegals in the truck at the time. This is what they did. There's human trafficking going on. You come here to the United States, you have to pay off a $60,000 debt. You have to work it off. Some of them are getting wristbands, electronic wristbands, so they could be tracked. A lot of these people are getting murdered and abused and were getting raped. And down at the Panama Gap, they would give women birth control, girls as young as 12 years old. The Catholic Church was in on it. Catholic Church and 9 or 8 other government NGOs, including some Jewish organizations, the Catholic Church, other humanitarian, so-called humanitarian organizations, giving birth control to young girls because they know on their journey up through the Darien Gap, they would be victims of sexual assault, about a third of them. And then before the coyotes would send the girls over the border, they would get raped or attacked or assaulted and sexually assaulted. And that's why Tom Homan's on a mission. Tom Homan told me the reason why he is so intent on doing what he's doing and stopping the illegal immigration is because he's tired of pulling dead babies out of the backs of 150-degree containers or finding the underwear of a 12-year-old girl, at the border where the coyotes just, assaulted women and young girls before they crossed into the United States. And he swore to me he would never let it happen again. That's why a guy like that is so committed, a hardworking, middle-class guy, Tom Homan. He's not taking bribes. He's completely 100% dedicated to what he does. And that's the side of ICE they don't tell you about in the mainstream media, that almost all of the people that they're going after are criminal, felon, illegal aliens. Not that every illegal alien isn't breaking law already, but they are targeting the most dangerous, the most violent, the most active criminal, illegal aliens possible right now. And that's what is going on. And if you didn't, and if Chicago and Seattle and even New York, because Mamdani and even Cuomo wasn't going to cooperate with ICE, he told us that, even with them, they're not letting the police do their job. So in Chicago, I hear on the ground, and in Seattle, they're not letting ICE into the jails, but in Chicago, they're not bringing the right charges against the illegal aliens and letting them out the back door so ICE can't get them. And that's the kind of stuff. So if you didn't have that going on, you wouldn't have all these protesters and Antifa in the streets as much, because it wouldn't be out in the open with ICE going into places of work and residences and other looking for these men and women who have committed heinous crimes, both in the United States and abroad. In the United States, it wouldn't be as big of a deal because it wouldn't be in public. They would just get them in jail. So that's the dirty little secret from the Democrats that they're not telling you. By the way, I'm so sorry I forgot to mention Steve Levy, my cohort in crime here at the America First Warehouse for the On the Right Side broadcast every Wednesday at 2 p.m., is out of town today. I think he's stuck in this debacle with the shutdowns flying. And But he'll be back next week with us, and we love Steve Levy. He's a former Democratic county executive here in Suffolk County who turned Republican, and he was a former assemblyman. And I was asked to campaign against him when I was 28 years old, and I said, heck no. He was the toughest campaigner around, knocked on more doors than anybody, fiscal conservative, saw the light, came over to the right side, and he's a fixture here on Long Island, fighting for people, and he's an expert on illegal immigration. So I love enjoying conversations with him about what's going on there. I have a lot to tell you about. I just got back from Florida, Palm Beach, the Florida Southeast Coast, 100 miles of billionaires. It's unbelievable what's going on down there. People fleeing blue states, people coming from around the world to be in Florida, which has half the budget of New York with 4 million more people. They're a little bit more fiscally responsible. But even Florida's expensive. The third person that I've heard about in the last month or two told me they're leaving Florida because they can't afford it. So Florida's not such great shakes in all ways, but they do have stand your ground. They don't have income tax. They don't take your house into bankruptcy, and they have a more responsible government. And a lot of people going there, and a lot of people in New York going there. New York State has a net migration of 1 million people since Andrew Cuomo was governor here, combined with COVID, and where we lead the nation in net emigration out of the state. And that's going to get worse with Mamdani. Polling suggesting that up to 9% of the population could leave New York City. I don't know if it's going to be that high, but he's already up to his antics, 100% anti-Israel, really disgusting what's going on. Linda Sarsour will have a big say in Mamdani's agenda, and she is a radical jihadist dirtbag. And bad people. And it's not just because they're Muslim, because a lot of Muslims died along U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq. There's a lot of great Muslims and living in the United States, but a lot of them are on a jihad. And Mamdani has his own version of that, and he's an anti-Semite. So we're hoping that we don't suffer too much over the next 4 years. We'll be right back. You're watching On the Right Side with David Zier from the America First Warehouse.
You've worked hard and saved, but inflation and increased money supply are eroding your buying power. Protect and grow your wealth with physical gold and silver. Sound Money. With a Sound Money wallet, your wealth stays in your control. Buy fractionally, vault securely, ship directly, and instantly liquidate your gold and silver at the highest buyback price in the industry. Real money, real ownership. Visit tafwsoundmoney.info or scan the QR code and start securing your financial future today.
The America First Ultra MAGA store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Ultra MAGA store.
Live from Studio 6B on a Friday night, live at the America First Warehouse. Live at the America First Warehouse on a Friday, Real America's Voice, all across the country, 103.9 LI News Radio, all across your radio, Suffolk County, Long Island. Glad you're in.
Corporate transfer. Fine professional, moving and storage, and inventory management.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed, because there is nothing out there like it. We give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
Hey, thanks for joining us. I'm David Zier, co-host of On the Right podcast, also with Steve Levy, who's not here today, former New York State Assembly and former Suffolk County executive here. And he is a fiscal conservative, and he's just a great guy. He's a lawyer, but don't hold that against him. But I got to tell you, really sharp on the issues, and I enjoy doing the show with him. But he got stuck in this shutdown air traffic delay thing that's going on around. I was in Florida the past 2 days. I was down at the Real America's Voice News studio checking in. But also, I played golf at Trump Jupiter and with the Warriors Choice Foundation. And what a great bunch of people, veterans, our nation's war fighters. It was the day before Veterans Day. It was a beautiful day. Any Trump property is just pristine. It was a very exciting day. I got to play golf, if you want to call it that, what I do. I just took 8 strokes off my game. I bring an eraser with me now, but I have 45 years of bad golf behind me, and but the time we had was awesome. And I played with this guy, Cliff Van Rickey from Tennessee, who was 101st Airborne in Kentucky for many years and was a halo and a HAHO instructor. You know, these guys jump out of C-130s at 30,000 feet. Just incredible. And they deploy their chute 4 seconds into the jump and navigate 30 clicks into like enemy territory so they can have deep insertion into enemy territory and infiltrate. And just the best. And the other guy I played with, this guy Brandon, Marine in Fallujah in 2005. And if you remember 2004-05, Fallujah, Najaf, Ramadi, the fighting was so brutal there. We lost a lot of Marines. Just salt of the earth people, and it was a super day, and Rudy Giuliani was there, and he got pardoned that day before, so that was pretty incredible. I spent a lot of time with Rudy Giuliani, and he's a big friend to the America First Warehouse here, and Joe the Box, and, you know, what happened to him is a disgrace. New investigations coming out of South Florida, we'll get into that in a little while, also to bring down people like Lisa Page and Peter Strzok and the whole debacle that went on since 2015 with Hillary Clinton, you know, trying to get the presidential candidate, a private citizen, spied on, which was a success, and then Comey signing off on 4 FISA warrants that were unverified, and 40,000 people were victims of FISA warrants across the United States. How many of them were railroaded? That doesn't get talked about very much. So this incredible day we had at Trump Jupiter. Florida is booming. All right, Florida's booming. Now, Florida's expensive. I had 3 people come to me in the last 3 months tell me they're leaving Florida because they can't afford it. Oh, I'm going to Alabama. Because the working class person in Florida has it tough. Because if you go to Southeast Florida, you go to Palm Beach, and you go to the, you know, Boca area, and you're going down to Miami, all the way up to Jupiter, Juno Beach, even all the way up to like Daytona. It's very expensive. And there aren't a lot of high-paying jobs in Florida. There's not a lot of industry. So it's a little tough. You know, and they're a right-to-work state, so, you know, if you're a big union guy in New York and you get all these incredible benefits, you know, it's hard to relocate to a southern state and make the same kind of money. But overall, the cost of living is a little cheaper. There's no income tax and stuff. But the immigration into Florida from the rest of the country is just exceptional. Wall Street's going to Dallas. Wall Street's going to Southeast Florida or Nashville. So they live in New York. The amount of people leaving New York, they call it the Mamdani migration for a reason. The brokers, I'm a commercial real estate broker also for 38 years. So I experience what's going on with businesses relocating in and out of New York State area. People are fleeing to Florida because of the election, the COVID policy under Kathy Hochul, Andrew Cuomo, under de Blasio. We had a big, you know, a lot of people left under de Blasio too. But with Mamdani, it's going to be even more. And the brokers' phones are lighting up and buzzing. And down in Florida, what's going on is a lot of the locals who are thinking about doing building projects, either renovating their homes or buying new homes, are jumping and scooping up whatever's left because they know the New Yorkers are coming more and more. And they want to beat them to the punch because prices are going to even go higher. Now, they're building $180 million homes like Chiclets on Palm Beach Island. And they're knocking down $180 million homes to build $200 million homes on the spot where that $180 million home was. And I'm not even kidding. And I know a specific example like that going on right now. But Palm Beach Island, sand is worth $200 million, 2 acres of sand with nothing on it. And then the West Palm Beach County, their assessment, which was used by Letitia James going after Trump in the hush money trial and D.A. Bragg, which was a bogus number because nobody uses an assessed valuation to value a house for an appraisal. But, you know, Mar-a-Lago, which is on 30 acres, it's like 56,000 feet or so, 56 bedrooms. The former Marjorie Post family, the cereal magnate family, owned it. It's on not only the ocean, but it's also on the Intercoastal Waterway. It's one of the most spectacular properties in the planet. It's probably worth $1.5 billion or $2 billion if somebody wanted to offer that because, you know, that's what happens. You know, it's hard to say. People always want the most amount for their property. And they can say whatever they want. And when Trump went for these business loans in New York City, he always said, caveat emptor, buyer beware, meaning the banks had to do their own homework and verify the numbers that he put his valuations on. Now, Mar-a-Lago is not worth only $27 million like the government said. It's probably worth $1 billion all day long because Jeff Bezos bought a house on 2 acres that's 10,000 feet. He paid like $40 million for it, I believe. There's houses all around Mar-a-Lago that are going for 20, 30, 40, 80, 100, 175 million, you know, for 2 acres and 3 acres for a little island. Again, like Chiclets, everywhere you go. So there's no doubt that Mar-a-Lago is one of the premier properties in the world, one of the most beautiful properties in the world, over 30 acres in the heart of Palm Beach. It's in the hundreds of millions at a minimum. So Southeast Florida is raging. It's booming. There's a crane on every corner. Builders like Ross, Steve Ross, the Related Group, and others building you know, new neighborhoods within West Palm Beach, tearing old stuff down, rebuilding new stuff. Everywhere you look, there's a crane. Nobody wants to be in New York. And a lot of people don't want to be in New York, but they can't afford to leave. I have 2 children in New York. I have grandkids in New York, so it's in my interest to follow what's going on. I spent my life in New York City, even though I live out here in the burbs. I worked with the Giuliani administration. I want to get into that when we come back a little more, but back in the 90s, I represented developers that worked hand in hand with Giuliani, and I watched him turn around New York City, something that's not going on right now. Not only did he have broken windows, and not only did he have the stop and frisk, which he didn't abuse like Blumberg did, but the quality of life crimes and stopping that was critical to Giuliani's success in New York City. But he also had 2 other aspects of it that people don't talk about. He had the 420B phased-in tax program along with the Anchor Revitalization Program and the New York City Housing Partnership that was run by Kathy Hochul, Kathy Wild, a Democrat running the New York City Housing Partnership at the time. She's still involved in New York City, and she was very competent. And Giuliani joined forces with her. Remember, Giuliani won the mayoral race in 1993 because he took the liberal line from Ray Harding. And that's how he won. And you have to do that in New York City, unfortunately, to win a mayoral race. You have to have some type of cross-endorsements from the left. But he did a phenomenal job. But he also had this New York City Housing Partnership Program where he would give builders these big tax-condemned lots or environmentally condemned lots that were cleaned up. And the builder could build 3-story townhomes on it. And the first 2 levels would be condo-style townhome living. The top floor would be a rental. You could even go Section 8 with it and rent it out for someone on welfare. But it gave you title to a home when you bought these things, like the Jack Kemp Enterprise Zone, which cleaned up the streets, kicked out the drug dealers out of Bushwick, Bowler Avenue in the Bronx, Coney Island, you name it, 116th and Lenox, Harlem, New York, and it gave people the ability to buy a home for like $159,000. They would get $25,000 from the state. They would get $25,000 from the city. They would get the home in the end for $109,000. They only had to make $30,000 a year. All they needed was $6,000 in savings in the bank, but they got title to a home. And they kicked out the drug dealers in these regions. And it led to this gentrification that went on all the way down to Park Slope, Prospect Park, Williamsburg, Greenpoint, Long Island City, and now you can't touch a house for under $1.5 million. But Giuliani lit that fire for real estate in New York City. He also used the Anchor Revitalization Program, which gave builders federal loan guarantees. It wasn't a handout. It was a loan guarantee of federal money to get them to take risks in Harlem, into Washington Heights, 116th and Lenox, up on the Upper East Side, which Giuliani cleaned up, which went to pot again under de Blasio and Adams. And, you know, a lot of crime, a lot of smash and grabs going up on the East Side. There was for a long time. It's getting a little better right now, but it's still not as safe. And this Anchor Revitalization Program cleaned up. It brought commercial business back. I mean, he was responsible for the Harlem revival. It was just incredible what happened. And now in Harlem, you can't touch a brownstone for under $1 million, right? So we miss Giuliani. We want Rudy back in New York City. There's nobody like him. So not only did he stop crime and stop the quality of life crime, saying if you were jumping a turnstile, chances are you were wanted for a warrant that you had a weapon on you, or were wanted for a major crime. They even arrested serial killers that way in New York City. Now it's anything goes. And I have footage, you know, from Penn Station from 2 weeks ago where homeless people, mentally ill, walking up to people in restaurants, sitting down with them, scaring people away. They would get up and throw out their food and walk out of the restaurant. The manager of the restaurants don't care in Penn Station. It's like a third world country to begin with. And it's probably only going to get worse. And like Michael Goodwin says from the New York Post, you know, Mamdani's not going to be an immediate trend down. It's going to be a long, sour decline. And we're going to get into a little bit more about that with Mamdani, who made a speech like Idi Amin and Che Guevara had a love child, and they were speaking to a Ugandan lithium camp with kids mining for coal or something also, and they were going to uprise and take over the camp and kill all the leaders. That was the speech he gave on Victory Night, saying he's here to defend the immigrants. Any one of these immigrants in New York City have a better life than they did from the country's origin they came from. We're going to get into that and more. Thank you for watching Right on the Right Side. We'll be right back.
Most people think they have options when searching for the best deals when they travel. But here's the shocking truth. 100% of the major travel agencies are owned by just two entities, Expedia and Booking Holdings. They claim to offer the lowest rates, but due to the hotel rate parity agreement, they all have the same pricing, limiting genuine competition. When you book through these sites, you act as your own travel agent, but the profits are going to organizations that don't support our patriot values. We cannot allow that to continue. So, we decided to make travel great again by starting a US-based travel membership platform, mypatriottravel.com. We are patriots helping patriots. Together, we can disrupt the travel industry by not spending our hard-earned dollars supporting the radical left. For just $29.99 per month, you gain access to true wholesale rates on travel, saving you on average 35% and up to 65%. Book as often as you like, with no limits. Keep your hard-earned dollars in your pocket and spend them on things you need and want to support. Go to mypatriottravel.com/TAFW and grab your membership today. mypatriottravel.com/TAFW, making travel great again.
Hey, fellow patriots, it's Cindy Gross here, host of Right for America, from your favorite place, the America First Warehouse. You've seen me show on my show so many products from this country's #1 most patriotic manufacturer with close to 400 products. You need to exchange the products you use in your house to this company and make your dollars count in our country.
All right, live from Studio 6B on a Friday night, live at the America First Warehouse. Live at the America First Warehouse on a Friday Country, 103.9 LI News Radio, across your radio, Suffolk County, Long Island. Glad you're in.
It's me, Joe the Box, the America First Warehouse, most patriotic venue in all the land.
The America First Warehouse, a beacon for all to see, a symbol of unity. For the patriots of America, we stand tall and free. In the America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be.
Hey, welcome back, everybody across America. I'm David Zier with Real America's Voice News, coming to you from the amazing the America First Warehouse. Go to the AmericaFirstWarehouse.com, and this place is really something very special. The most patriotic venue in the United States, outside the White House at Mar-a-Lago. But for real, there's a great audience participation here at the warehouse over the years. People come from all over the country to be part of our specials here at the warehouse. We brought you people like Miranda Devine, Monica Crowley, Kellyanne Conway, MTG, everybody. Joe Biden. No, Joe Biden was never here. I'm only kidding. But I got to say, kids can't buy a house today. Young people can't buy a house today. I've been married for 36 years next week. Man, unbelievable what has taken place in that time. Because when I got married, you can live on $35,000 a year. And I bought my first home at 27. I had 3 kids at 23. It was no big deal. You know, we had about 40, 50,000 in income coming in. Maybe it went up to 70 to 90,000. And that was back in like 95, 97, 98. Incomes are that much now, 35 years later, right? 30 years later. Incomes haven't gone up that much in the United States, being outpaced by inflation. With 9% inflation under Biden, it was Jimmy Carter-esque. And now you're coming out of college. You used to come out of college. My wife and I have paid 72 years of college and Catholic school tuition for our kids. And yes, I do have a kidney left for sale to pay for the last year for my daughter at USC Columbia, South Carolina. You used to come out making $50,000, $70,000, $90,000 a year, and sometimes you get a bonus, especially if you had a law degree. Those days are over. Kids coming out of college today have a 6% unemployment rate, higher than the national unemployment rate by about 2 point something. And it's hard because, if you're living in New York, forget it. You're paying $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month for rent anywhere you go. Even for a 1-bedroom, it's like $1,600 to $3,000 a month, depending on where you're in New York City. So you got to make $100,000 off the bat to pay that kind of rent to begin with. You're paying an extra 4% tax in New York City. So the average age to buy a house is 40 now. It used to be 28, just about 30 years ago. And the American dream is fleeting for many. And I covered the Trump campaign in most of America, in at least 38 states. Following Trump around, dealing with the people. I've done over 3,000 interviews with people. I got a feel for what was going on. And I saw the tide turning towards the 2024 election as it was approaching back in like July, when I'd go to Racine, Wisconsin, which is, manufacturing hub, a Democrat area. And people would say, I'm an independent. I'm going to vote Republican this time. There aren't jobs. There's a lot of illegals in my community. Our kids are dying from fentanyl left and right. And I saw the swing. But in places like North Carolina, where you have high-paying jobs, the Research Triangle, you have jet engines being made there. You've got high-tech areas. You've got High Point, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Wake Forest. High-income areas, packed with libs, by the way. But the young kids can make $80,000, $100,000 working in tech, the hospitals. UNC Chapel Hill, one of the best in the world, also libs. But I saw the vote swing back to Trump with the young people, because there were a couple of 100,000 more Republican voters in this election than in 2020 in North Carolina. There was a bigger Jewish vote also. There were hundreds of thousands of less Democrats voting in this election as well. Early voting outstripped the rest of the states. Early voting was up about 2% in North Carolina, especially with Hurricane Helene. And in like 27 of the 29 counties or so that had the emergencies declared from Hurricane Helene, which were Republican counties outside of the 2 counties that cover Asheville. By the way, Asheville was a zombie land apocalypse when I was there before Hurricane Helene. Homeless people everywhere, swept out of the city like they cleaned up San Francisco like the Chinese premier was coming. When Trump came, they wanted to make Asheboro look good, Asheville, North Carolina. And they put all the homeless people on the other side of Tunnel Road. Coming out of Tunnel Road, I have footage with my camera crew of 40 or 50, 60 homeless people on drugs at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, nowhere to go. People sleeping in sleeping bags next to the Waffle House in between my hotel and them. People sleeping in the parking lot. People sleeping in the woods. Terrible problem. Defund the police. You know, they want reparations, total libs. It's the San Francisco of the South in the Red Bible Belt, you know. So those 2 counties, Boone County and I think Buncombe, covering Asheville. Outside of that, the early voting came out in North Carolina for Trump because they were pissed at FEMA and Biden for not reacting to the hurricanes, probably purposely punishing them post-hurricane because dragging their feet, hoping they wouldn't show up to vote. I don't know what the methodology was behind it. But I saw the young people turning and shifting. And the night before the election, Jason Miller from the Trump campaign texted me something that showed that 154,000 less women showed up to vote in early voting, 172,000 people in the urban areas. Black voting was down like 16 to 20% among men. Women were staying home. And I saw the writing on the wall that Trump was going to win the election. And we called it, right? But a lot of these people were young people. They can't buy homes. The American dream is fleeting for them. And they can't get a loan at 6.8%. Now it's like 6.2%. It's still too high. It's a point or two too high. And I'm not a big fan of these 50-year mortgages. I know Trump's pushing it to bridge a gap because he's stuck with Jerome Powell, who's a jerk who wants to foil the midterms for the Republicans. But, you know, 50-year mortgage, okay, if you need it temporarily and you're going to move up to another home, that's great. But you're going to pay hundreds of thousands of extra, and you're never going to own your home outright in your lifetime. You know, probably, if you let that loan play out, right? Because you're not buying a home till you're 40. The average age is 78 of death for an American right now. I think for women, maybe a little lower for men right now. It used to be higher. I think it went down a little bit. But, you know, you're going to be 90 years old by the time your mortgage is paid off, so good luck with that. But I know it's a tool. There already are 30 and 40-year mortgages. But interest rates are too high. And I watched that swing. And that's why Donald Trump won the election in a lot of these states as well. In addition to the turning point vote, which motivated kids who were tired of learning from their dorm room. People like my nephew who couldn't finish his golf scholarship, a #1 golfer on Long Island in his age group, had to leave college because he didn't want to vax. They watched their parents suffer during COVID. They watched the suicide rate going up during COVID. They watched the mental health impairedness go up during COVID. And, you know, there was a rebound for that. There was a repercussion of that, which led to more people seeking out groups like TPUSA, which started to make sense to them. But I think there's more kids that are DSA, Democratic Social of America. Maybe they have crappy parents. Their teachers are even worse when they go to these schools across America, and high school and college included, mostly college, and they get brainwashed. So I kind of get why they're at where they're at, but they're also where they're at, and they're not allegiant, but swing towards, you know, Antifa-type attitudes. And they probably need more religion in their life. But the American dream is fleeting for them. You know, you can make $130,000 a year in San Francisco and be homeless. And it's a real tough spot that these kids in. So there's a crossover between the right and the left, that the young people can't start families. You know, my kids start families later than I did. You know, my oldest had kids at 30. I have one having a kid at 32. I just have one that had kids at 34. It's a little older. Only one of my 4 children own homes at this point. The oldest will be 37, and she's the only one who owns a home. So, you know, it's harder, definitely harder. So I get the sentiment out there. But again, I don't know if I'm a fan of the 50-year mortgage. If it helps people get into something, and the average person only owns a home for 15 years, so it might be a decent temporary solution for people. But the underlying problem is that your taxes are too high. Your local, state, and federal government machine, whether the Republican or Democrat, is too high. You're getting hosed. You're getting abused, right? Remember, every dollar should be accounted for, and it's not. And there's always going to be sloth in government. There's always going to be games going on. The unions have an incredible control. They contribute to both parties, the Republicans and the Democrats. You know, politicians somewhat hostage to them sometimes. They cut lucrative deals for government workers. The municipal unions, I don't think it should be legal for municipal unions to donate to a candidate in any election, because you're already taking publicly funded money, basically. Even if the employees are funding it themselves, they're getting paid from taxpayer dollars, so it's all kind of one and the same. I don't think they should be allowed to donate in an election. I mean, New York State is hostage to the teachers union. The UFT is like to the left of Karl Marx. Mamdani's reading the game book right out of Trotsky, pitting the masses against each other, exploiting the proletariat, the working class to rise up against the bourgeois, the middle-class business owners, while the commies and the elitists stay rich and everyone else always stays poor. I watched it in the Soviet Union in the street in 1986. I saw the tanks in the street. I saw the bread lines with my own eyes. I saw the food lines. I saw the so-called grocery stores that had like a cucumber and a pepper on the shelf. And we walk into Pathmark here in the United States, and there's 200 different brands of cereal. When my sister got married in the Soviet Union in '86, she was one of the only people in the world to ever get a Soviet citizen out of the country. And it was communist back then under Gorbachev. She got him out of the country. And when he came here to the supermarket, he cried for 2 hours because he couldn't believe it. And he thought we were a bunch of spoiled little wimps, because these people had nothing. So it's probably somewhere in the middle that's ideal, right? You know, but socialism is not the answer, that's for sure. And they always run out of other people's money, and then they come after you for it. So Mamdani's speech on taking over New York City was this radical speech, you know, like a dictator. It was like Fidel Castro up there on a milk crate talking to the masses and saying, oh, the immigrants are all oppressed in New York City. And they're not. There's no one getting oppressed in New York City. You either come here and you work hard or you don't. You either come here, you work hard, and you don't piss your money away on restaurants and bars every night, and you try to save something and put a plan together, even though it's expensive. You're to blame in the end for not succeeding, especially after 20, 30 years. But these people live off the tit for 30, 40 years, 50 years. They're on welfare for 30, 40, 50 years. And there's no reason why 46 million Americans on welfare. We're going to get into that. The average weight of a woman on welfare on SNAP is 211 pounds. The average weight for a woman who's not on SNAP is 147 pounds. Digest that. We'll be right back. I'm David Zier.
Have you noticed your money just doesn't stretch like it used to? Your paycheck feels lighter, and your savings aren't growing. The culprits? Inflation and increased money supply. They've both been quietly eating away at your purchasing power for years. Today, the dollar's value has dropped significantly. You feel it every time you spend money on goods and services. Back in 1965, $1 or an ounce of silver could buy you a gallon of milk. Fast forward to today. That same dollar barely buys a couple of coffee creamers, while an ounce of silver would get you 8 gallons of milk. Gold and silver have held their value for centuries. If you had 2,500 ounces of silver back in 1965, you could buy a brand new Ford Mustang. Today, 2,500 ounces of silver would buy you 2 Mustangs. Similarly, in the year 2000, 628 ounces of gold would buy a new $170,000 home. Today, 628 ounces would buy you a $2,500,000 home. The problem? 95% of Americans don't own physical gold or silver. They think it's too complicated and too expensive, but it doesn't have to be. We offer a membership program that allows you to buy gold or silver with as little as $1. You can buy fractional amounts, safely vault them, or have them delivered to your doorstep. And you can liquidate them whenever you want at the highest buyback price in the industry. Ready to protect your wealth and keep your purchasing power? Scan the QR code or go to tafw.soundmoney.com to learn more.
The America First Warehouse. the country, 103.9 LI News Radio, across your radio, Suffolk County, Long Island. Glad you're in.
It's me, Joe the Box. And I'm John the Blanket with the America First podcast.
That's what I'm talking about. The Fred Rubino podcast coming to you from the America First Warehouse.
Welcome to Right for America. Issues that unite, don't ignite.
I'm James Justice. We got Stephen Ruth over here. What are we doing, Steve? Fighting!
Welcome to the Patriots podcast. Good evening, everyone. We live stream every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. right here from the America First Warehouse, the most patriotic venue in all the land.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the On the Right Side podcast here at the America First Warehouse in Long Island, New York.
Welcome to Liberty's Cage, the podcast tearing down the walls of America's broken justice system.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Downey Jr. podcast. Be free, stay free.
Welcome to Suffocating in Suburbia with me, your host, Stevie GB.
Hey, welcome back. I'm David Zier, coming to you from the America First Warehouse. I'm with Real America's Voice News. My cohort here, Steve Levy, is not with us. He is stuck in an airport. And we love Steve Levy. He is former Suffolk County executive, former New York State assemblyman, fiscal conservative, expert on illegal immigration, contributes so much here to Long Island and addresses the national issues. So we'll be back with Steve next week. Go to the AmericaFirstWarehouse.com. Check us out on X at America First WH. And watch this show every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm a field correspondent and a show host for Real America's Voice News. I cover the White House and other locations when our chief correspondent is not available, and I've traveled the country with Rav, experiencing, the everyday Joe out there and their problems. I'd love to interview the Uber drivers, because most of them outside of New York State are Trump fans, and they're all working 2 and 3 jobs. What do you do during the day? Oh, I'm an accountant. I'm in the middle of Iowa. I can't survive. During Biden, everyone's struggling. They all got to work 2 and 3 jobs. It's very tough out there. But what went on in New York City last week, let's face it, Cuomo was a terrible candidate. I love Curtis Sliwa, but he didn't have the machine, didn't have the money to support. They didn't back him up early enough, and only 11% of the vote in New York City mayoral elections are Republican anyway. Tough problem. But when Cuomo lost that primary, he sat on his ass for like a month or 2. He didn't do anything. He didn't go out in the streets and campaign like Sliwa and Mamdani did. Mamdani had 100,000 volunteers. They knocked on 200,000 doors or so in the last weekend. The early voting, Little Bangladesh up in Washington Heights, Astoria, Upper West Side, the Upper East Side, they all came out in droves for Mamdani. And the same people that carried him in the primary, the young people of Long Island City, Prospect Park, Park Slope, Brooklyn, Greenpoint, Bushwick, went like 70, 80% for Mamdani. And it was the same thing on election night as it was in the primary. And I think 78% of the young people voted for Mamdani, because they don't know what they're talking about. I did exit polling outside of Greenwich Village polling station that day for Real America's Voice News on election day, and I interviewed these 3 girls from Pace University. They all are probably in apartments that their parents pay for, because they're from McMansions in Jersey or Nassau County or Suffolk County, Long Island. And they don't have any idea what it's like to really struggle and buckle down and raise a family. But I also feel for them, because it's expensive to be in New York City. But New York City was always expensive. Now it's a little more expensive. But it's because of the progressive leftist policies that it's expensive. It's not expensive because of fiscal conservatives. And I blame some Republicans in New York State. The budget always goes up in New York State. The Republicans are kind of in a super minority situation. They can't get bills proposed, so they got their hands tied too. But, the MTA, they're abusive. They're $25 billion in the hole. The big union Democrats, the United UFT, it's like going to Cuba when you talk to these teachers in New York City. It's like make the communists look like moderates. And Mamdani's fun guy persona was throughout the campaign, oh, I like to play soccer. Everyone's getting into FIFA for free, and the elites aren't going to go there. And, he's like Tyler Durden of Fight Club. Oh, when I get in, we're going to tear it all down, he says on Victory Night. He transformed from this, nice guy, I play soccer in Central Park, and I'm from a working class family, to this, Soviet-style Tyler Durden leader up there. And like I said before, it's like Idi Amin and Che Guevara had a kid and were given a speech in an Indian coal mine for like 12-year-olds to rise up against their bosses and kill them all. You know, and it was this radical speech that was inappropriate. But now Mamdani's saying, oh, I got to reach out to Trump, and it's critical to the success of New York, because he knows that I have some numbers for you on federal funding in New York here coming in a minute. But Mamdani's rhetoric is symbolic of Trotsky's permanent revolution, bringing communism to America through the proletariat hipsters, and they're already ripping down flags and American flags in New York City. I got to say, you know, he's preying on dumb young people. Sorry to say it. But it's not that they're not, you know, well-rounded, say. Because if you're an average kid in New York City, chances are they travel the world, right? Even if they don't have money. They're diverse. They're from third world countries, a lot of them. Their parents struggled and came here, you know, but now there's this radicalism. They've been radicalized. And Mamdani wants to get rid of the counterterrorism unit in the police department to a degree, if not the whole thing. And people have to remember the 40-year history of terror in New York City. And, you know, it hit home for me. I lost one of my childhood friends in 9/11. My whole family was affected, like everyone else on Long Island, people's fiancés, brothers, husbands, fathers. You know, 500 people lost their lives just here from Long Island alone on 9/11. 7,000 are dead, including those that died that day from mesothelioma, and 410,000 rescue workers came through the pile. Now they're getting 20 years later, 25 years later, diagnoses with COPD, different cancer disorders and other, and they're still dying left and right. But there's been a radical 40-year history of terrorism in the United States, starting in New York City. From the Al Farouk Mosque going back to the 80s, I remember a carload of weapons being pulled over in Connecticut in 1987. In 1993, when Ramzi Youssef planned the first World Trade Center bombing, it started out when the Blind Sheikh came to the United States via Afghanistan, originally from Egypt, who helped in the assassination of Anwar Sadat for signing the Middle East peace accords through Jimmy Carter in the 70s. They killed him at a parade with grenades. And he was part of that sympathizing, and along with Zawahiri, who fled to Pakistan. And the Blind Sheikh fled to Afghanistan, came to the United States in 1990. They planned 9/11. He took control of the Jersey City, the Manhattan, and the Brooklyn mosques. And they were being radicalized through the Al Farouk Mosque in Brooklyn, a lot of Muslims in New York City, and along with recruiting for the Mujahideen out of the Sahadi Spice Market and like Atlantic Avenue and stuff. And there were places in Brooklyn that were recruiting actively for the jihad, mostly to fight the Soviets back in the 80s, but that changed and transformed. And Mohammed Salameh and Mahmoud Abba Halima from the Jersey City Mosque were basically handpicked by the Blind Sheikh to plan the February 26, 1993 World Trade Center bombing. They were originally going to break El Sayed Nosser out of prison, who killed El Sayed Nosser killed Meir Kahane, who was an Israeli Knesset member who wasn't sympathetic to the Palestinians, in the Marriott East Side Hotel in 1990. Assassinated him, got sentenced on a gun charge, got acquitted of murder, to Attica, the state's toughest prison, and they were originally going to break him out of prison. El Sayed Nosser was going to be broken out of prison by Al-Qaeda in New York City in 1992, 1993. That plan was foiled. The second plan was to kidnap Al D'Amato's daughter and blow up 13 synagogues across Brooklyn and New York City. And then Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and bin Laden got wind of that in Pakistan and Afghanistan. And bin Laden said, send Ramzi Youssef there, who was the nephew of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who was in the Philippines doing nothing except going to like strip clubs and stuff. They sent him to the United States. He taught Mahmoud Abalim, Mohammed Salameh, how to make the ammonium nitrate diesel fertilizer bomb. And they blew up the Trade Center on February 26, 1993. They actually put the bomb in the wrong garage, and that's why it didn't do more damage. And Bill Clinton never visited the site, by the way, after 6 stories of the parking garage were blown out. But then, if people have short memories, you should remember, and it should be on your mind every day, that the Day of Terror, 3 months after February 26, 1993, through the Blind Sheikh, they were caught mixing the explosives in a Midtown warehouse to blow up the United Nations, which the Sudanese embassy apparently gave a key to them to get through the parking garage to blow up the United Nations. St. Regis Hotel, the Midtown Tunnel, the Holland Tunnel, the GW Bridge, the FBI headquarters, all on the same day. They were caught mixing the explosives. And of course, all of them got convicted. There was a $23 million weapons laundering ring. They prevented the Brooklyn Bridge from being blown up. You had the subway bomber who failed in his attempt. You had the West Side on Halloween during Trump's first term. Home Depot driver killed 8 or so people on the West Side Highway. You had the pressure cooker bomber in Chelsea. You had another bomber in Jersey the day, I think, of 9/11, actually, that was planning something. So, and these guys trained in our backyards here on Long Island. They trained for the 1993 World Trade Center attack at the Calverton gun range, 15 miles from my house. They trained in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And so New York City has this incredible history of Islamic terror, you know, starting back also from like the shooting at the Empire State Building where the guy killed 1 and shot 6 back in like 1987. The yeshiva school bus that was stopped on the Brooklyn Bridge. A radical jihadist killed a 15-year-old student with a shotgun and a pistol on the bridge. It just goes on. And think about all the hundreds of attacks that were foiled that you'll never hear about. So the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and I know a lot of you guys aren't fond of the FBI and what they've been doing, especially under Biden and under Obama and Clinton, but the Joint Terrorism Task Force, which I have family in, are incredible people, and they put their lives on the line every day, especially the NYPD Counterterror Department. And that's critical to the survival of New York City. And we have to continue that. If there's one thing we do when Mamdani is mayor, we have to make sure that that unit doesn't go anywhere, that doesn't get any less, you know, vigilant, and has to be funded, and it has to be a priority. So it'll be really interesting to see with all the Israeli haters and all the Jew haters and Linda Sarsour and the pro-Palestinian movement wearing shmatas on the head, white girls from suburbia wearing shmatas on their head like they're going to get in bed with Yasser Arafat, who'd probably have them killed, you know, if he had the chance, you know. And, you know, they don't know what the hell they're doing and what they're standing for. You know, I covered the ICE protest, and I got knocked around for a couple of hours up there downtown by Federal Plaza. And, you know, there weren't any Mexicans protesting. They were white girls from suburbia with shmatas and you know, a couple of radical white guys and a few black kids. But the cops were more diverse than they were. They were 6% women, Asian, black, Hispanic. Thank God they were allowed to take the gloves off when I was covering it. And did they throw a beating down on some of these people who deserved it in the crowd, who are animals. Animals. You don't want them over for Thanksgiving. You don't want them marrying your daughter. They've lost their way. They need an exorcism. And unfortunately, a big chunk of New York City thinks that way. A big chunk thinks that way across the United States in our blue cities. Every blue city has more crime than the red cities around the country. Don't let the Democrats lie to you. Oh, there's more crime in red states. Yeah, because there's blue cities in those red states that have the highest crime. So anyway, I'm David Zier. Thank you for watching the America First Warehouse's On the Right Side podcast. Catch us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Go to America First WH on X. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time with Steve Levy.